Today on the show, I had the fanciest dinner of my life and it was so worth it. All that and more on 20th Century Boy, the show that has the world record for amount of stuff-ups in an open... Oh. The show that has a world record for the amount of stuff-ups in a podcast... the show that has a world record in the amount... the show that has the world record in the amount of stuff-ups in a podcast opening. Welcome to 20th Century Boy. My name is Fancy Mike, and this is the inside of my mind. Welcome back to the show. Great to have you here. This is 20th Century Boy, a podcast by me, Radio Mike, writer and producer from Melbourne, Australia, just making his way through life. And, hey, this podcast is the conversations you wish you were having about the stuff that no one else cares about. If you like this pod, the best way to support us is Patreon, patreon.com/Radio Mike. There's a ton of bonus content up there for you to listen to. But yeah, if you like any of my content, support me on Patreon. Throw your independent creators, throw them some cash in this time, because the Netflixes of the world, the Spotifys of the world, they've got heaps of money. Consider a Patreon subscription your subscription to Radio Mike Productions. Guys, I've got a bit I want to talk about this week. I've been obsessed over the last few weeks with productivity, right? Because I've been doing a lot of reflecting on myself and how badly I would manage my time, how poorly I would manage my work, how distracted I'd become, and just generally how disorganized I would be. And I wanted to share this initiative that I had for something that could just really help me with my productivity, right? I've talked a bit about the note-taking and to-do lists and stuff, which obviously seems very rudimentary, but for me, groundbreaking. But basically, I created what I call my work kit, my little work kit, right? And essentially, it's a little zip. It's actually I bought it from Kmart. It's a little padded zip up kind of wallet-y kind of thing that I originally bought to put passports and stuff in when I was in the airport. But it's really ergonomic. It fits a lot of stuff in. And essentially, the idea was often when I work out of my home, I work in a home office, here in my apartment, but I often will end up outside of the office, whether it's going into the radio station I work at or various other offices I work at. And, for years I've just found myself in an office and I'm I don't have this, or I should have brought this, or I didn't bring this, or I need this. Okay? And what I realized with this work kit, highly recommend for anyone who is a distracted or scatterbrained individual, is it just has, it lives in my backpack. It is always in my backpack. I never take it out except for now because I'm going to go through it. And it has everything I could ever need for a day out of home, okay? It has 3 pens, red, black, and blue. And one of the pens is a Frixion ball pen that I bought in Japan, which is an erasable pen. Really good quality erasable pen. Blows people's minds. I show everyone. And a Sharpie. You never know when you might need a Sharpie. Okay? And then I have 2 SD cards, because there's been so many times I'm out and I'm SD card would be really handy. Really could use one, but I haven't had one, right? 2 USB flash drives, because there's so many times where I'm I just need a USB. I should have one. And in another zip pocket, it has a lightning cable to charge my phone, a USB-C, which a lot of things take, and a USB mini charger. So every charger I could ever need to charge all of my devices is in here. In another pouch is Blue Tack and little post-it sticky notes, because sometimes you're in an office and you're I just need some Blue Tack for something, right? Well, at least I do, because I have to send a lot of cards and stuff at work for Hamish and Andy pod. And I never have blue tack, and like now I've just got it in my work kit. The other thing I have in it is pocket tissues and Band-Aids in case I ever need those. Now, yesterday, at the time of recording, I went into the office for the Hamish and Andy pod, which I work on, and it was basically my first day of using the work kit in action and knowing that I had the work kit in my bag as backup if I needed anything. And I was like, I wonder if it will come in handy. Literally first thing, I needed a pen. Rather than go up to someone and be like, hey, can I borrow a pen? Rather than go to the stationery drawer, no, sir, fully self-sustaining Mike, right? Took out my work kit, started writing with my ball pen from Japan, erasable. If you make a mistake, rub it out. Perfect. Okay? Really good pen. Go get one. And then needed to charge my phone during the day. I'll just get my cord out, plug it in. Easy. Okay? And then you'll never believe it. Towards the end of the day, Andy had actually cut his finger on something. He's like, gonna need a Band-Aid for that. And I said, no worries. I've got one in my work kit. Took out my Band-Aids, gave him one. Now that is a perfect way of organizing yourself and becoming the hero in a workplace because you've got a work kit with anything you could possibly need. Taking suggestions for things that could go in my work kit, but I'm really proud of myself for setting it up, to be honest. I feel really organized now, and it just, like I said, lives in my backpack, and I take my backpack everywhere I go. So it's just, productivity to the max. I also wanted to talk about another thing I did, because I talk a lot on the pod about sort of being an anxious individual and self, all of that kind of stuff. Last week for work, for a client because for those who don't know, I freelance produce podcasts for clients. That's how I make most of my money to pay bills. This stuff just brings in extra money, which is needed. But patreon.com/RadioMike, shameless plug. Last week for a client, I had to do a pitch, like a presentation for them, because they were like, how do we grow our podcast further? What can we do? And I had to basically make a PowerPoint presentation and present it to these clients. And I've got to admit, I was really nervous. I'm working with friend of the show, Keelan, on this project as well. So I had him there, but I was leading this pitch and pitching to two clients who are like business guys and probably hear a lot of pitches in their day jobs. And I was so nervous. Genuinely felt so nervous. But what I've learned, one of the main things I've learned about anxiety and fear is that exposure is the best way to overcome them. And it goes back to, I've written about this in my blog, but I think I've talked about it on the podcast. It goes back to the roller coaster theory that I have, which is where every time I want to go on a roller coaster, every time I see a roller coaster, it terrifies me and I don't want to get on because I'm really scared, and I'm scared of heights and I'm scared of moving fast and I'm scared of roller coasters in general. And basically, when I force myself to get on and face the fear head on and face the anxiety head on, once I get off the roller coaster, I'm always like, that was awesome. And I feel so much more competent than I thought I was. And so that's exposure, like exposure therapy. Like they say, like if you're scared of flying, you should start on like small flights, not long haul flights. You should just start small, gradually expose yourself to the fear. And public speaking is obviously a very big fear for a lot of people. And this was very scary for me because I'd never really done anything like professionally where I had to stand up and do a pitch in front of people. But then maybe people listening like, but Mike, you've done like live podcasts and stuff, which also makes me really nervous and anxious. I mean, the first time we were doing the first ever Harry Potter and the Boys live show for my other podcast, I rang producer Pat the day before and said, we have to cancel it. I can't do it. Okay? So it's just a thing. It's just anxiety, which I'm getting so much more of a grip on recently. And again, I got on the roller coaster. I did this pitch that I was kind of putting off for a while, and it went really well. I was really stoked with how I performed. It made me realize I'm a better public speaker than than, I thought I was. It made me realize like I can do this and I can achieve, and I'm more competent than my brain wants to tell me I am. Because my brain wants to go into like survival mode, protective mode, and my brain's protective mode is, Mike, don't do anything, because doing anything could be damaging to your ego or hurt you. And so much of my life has been fighting this part of my brain that goes, don't do anything. We're too scared. Don't do it. And anytime I'm in an unfamiliar situation, my brain goes, Mike, this is an unfamiliar situation. We don't like those. But the only way in life to expand your own comfort zone is to get out of your comfort zone and do something. That's the roller coaster theory. Copyright Radio Mike, but spread it. The roller coaster theory. Get on the roller coaster, right? So this pitch went super well. It's going to lead to some cool new business opportunities for me, which is awesome. And I just wanted to share that because, if there's something you're putting off because you're scared, just go for it. It might not even go the way you want it to, but I genuinely believe that it is better to do the thing than to not do the thing, unless the thing is like murdering someone. Okay. Went for the fanciest dinner of my entire life a few nights ago at a place in Melbourne called Entrecote. Let me know if you have been there. Send an email or something like that. And I think Melbourne has some fantastic restaurants, okay? Ho Chi Mama. If you're ever in Melbourne, go to Ho Chi Mama, get the Feed Me pack. It is amazing, okay? There's one on Swan Street. There's also one in the city near the theatre. It is so nice. Ladyboy on Bridge Road, one of the best restaurants I've ever been to. I love it so much. It is absolutely amazing, okay? These are more fancier dinners, but none of them are even close to being as fancy as Entrecote, which we went to for Claire's birthday. And yes, it was pricey. Was it worth it? 100%. It was the nicest food I've ever had and the best service I've ever had at a restaurant in my entire life, okay? One of my friends from work, Darcy, was like, Mike, when you go to Entrecote, it's a French restaurant. He's like, you have to get the snails. The snails in garlic. They are the nicest thing I've ever had. And I was like, I have always wanted to try snails. My whole life, I have wanted to try snails, but never had. My dad told me, this isn't a joke, my dad told me that his uncle, when he was growing up, just had a jar full of snails that he would eat. Because, snails are like a normal thing that people eat. We just don't really eat them here. But, yeah, Entrecote, escargot, snails in butter and garlic. Oh, it was absolute heaven. It was a heavenly experience. And unlimited bread, great French bread with French butter, dipping it in that garlic sauce was divine. Then we had, I had a calamari dish for entree because the snails were in like a appetizer, and then for main we had the steak and chips, which was delicious. Then for dessert I had this lemon tart, and it was amazing. And the wait staff was so good. The whole place had an amazing vibe. Fireplace, live pianist playing piano, and you could request songs. You could request songs to this guy, like on an app. But he never played our song because we suggested Everything by Michael Bublé, which is like our song. That's like our song that we always play and sing together. You're my everything. And it's got that piano riff. You know it, right? And we put it on, and he just didn't play it. He played everyone else's song, but he didn't play Everything by Michael Bublé. And then on the app, it shows you a bunch of requests that other people have made that were rejected. It actually shows you rejected requests, and it says these requests are not available. And I thought some of them were really funny. Keep in mind, this is a high-end, fancy French dining area, and like there's a fireplace and it's just beautiful. And then someone's put Hakuna Matata, the Lion King. Just imagine hearing that in that environment. Hakuna Matata on the piano, right? some of these suggestions make sense. The Scientist, Coldplay, that's kind of in the vibe. Fly Me to the Moon, Frank Sinatra, that's in the vibe. Imagine by John Lennon, that's probably in the vibe, but it's gotten rejected. But then, someone has gone Please, Please, Please by Sabrina Carpenter. Probably not the vibe. As much as we love Sab, probably not the vibe. Another one for Fly Me to the Moon. And then, no, there was some more funny ones. All of Me by John Lennon, probably a bit modern, but that does fit the vibe. What was the really funny one that we had? Fortnight by Taylor Swift, The Special to Missy Higgins. That's a beautiful song. Everything in Its Right Place by Radiohead. If you've heard that song, I mean, don't get me wrong, Kid A, which is the album that song is from, one of my favorite albums ever. And Everything in Its Right Place is the opener, but it's a very abstract kind of electronic sort of song that I don't know if it would translate well to piano. So probably not a surprise that the pianist didn't want to play that one. But yeah, overall, an absolutely beautiful experience. It was funny because I did book the restaurant a few weeks in advance because it's so popular. I wanted to make sure we got a seat. And they sent me an email because I specified that it was my partner's birthday. And they sent me an email and they said, "Hey, Mike, glad that you're celebrating a birthday tonight at your reservation. Just so you know, for an extra $32, we can throw in an 8-centimeter cake." That was emailed to me. Wasn't sure if it was a joke or not. $32 for an 8-centimeter cake? I mean, that feels pretty excessive for 8 centimeters. And they still gave us a free dessert for the birthday. So it's a bit of a scam, to be honest, right? They came out with a candle and they had happy birthday written in chocolate sauce. And, the professionalism of this place, this is the difference between a high-end place and just a normal restaurant, okay? Every single wait person, from the guy who took us to our table to the person who we paid the bill, knew we were there for a birthday, okay? Every single person was like, I was like, "Hey, I've got a reservation for Mike." They're like, "Yes, Mr. Liberali. Yes, and happy birthday to Claire." And we were like, "Oh, they know," right? Because I had put a little note. Every single person, "Happy birthday, have an amazing day. Happy birthday," right? Couldn't get enough happy birthdays. It was simply a delightful evening, okay? And frankly, we ate so much, we were so full. We were just beyond full of the most delicious food we had ever had in our entire lives. It was beautiful. It was so expensive, but it was 100% worth it. Even I wasn't drinking, so I just got a lemon, lime, and bitters. It was the best lemon, lime, and bitters I'd ever had. A restaurant's good when even the basic stuff is better. Like I said with the bread, it was the best bread we had ever had in our lives. It was the best butter we had ever had in our lives. Even the staple stuff was better. The snails, actually, I don't know if anyone's eaten snails. It was kind of like a little mussel, the little shellfish, the mussels you can get. Kind of just had the same texture as that. But it just tasted like garlic and butter. There was no part of you that was like, this is a snail. Could have been even a little truffle or something, or a mushroom. But it was just I highly recommend it. Non-spawn, obviously, but I highly recommend Entrecote. It was such a beautiful night. And, just had an incredible night with Claire. And for those who don't know, I announced in the Discord recently, jump in the Discord if you want to talk to other like-minded listeners and viewers of my content. We've moved in together. So we've taken the next step in our relationship, which is awesome. And I couldn't be happier, to be honest. So yeah, it's been a really, really busy week and weekend with moving and birthdays and all of the above. And we're still kind of navigating where everything goes, but I'm really happy at the moment, guys. Creatively, I feel really fulfilled. Professionally, I feel fulfilled. Personally, I feel fulfilled. And I know that all of these things kind of they waver a bit. Nothing. This is just a really good part, a really good moment of my life that I'm trying to savor because, as I said, I know a lot of things, personal, professional, and creative can always challenge each other and you can always have an imbalance. But right now it all feels really balanced and I'm good. So I'm enjoying that. the one thing I didn't get to do because of the fancy dinner, but it's totally fine, but I thought I'd share, is I sent so many I think I talked about it, I sent so many emails to Disney making sure I would cop an invite to Deadpool and Wolverine, which preview screened last night on the day of recording this. And obviously couldn't go because we had this dinner, which is fine. So I will be seeing Deadpool and Wolverine tonight. It's Wednesday night for me. You'll be hearing this on a Thursday. I will be seeing it, and I probably will do a video review of it on YouTube, which should hopefully be up tomorrow. But also, I spoke to producer Pat because we are just about time for our next movie club, which I'll talk about in the plug, which will be out next Wednesday. But we're going to do a bonus movie club episode on Deadpool and Wolverine. So I'll talk a little bit more about that soon. I also wanted to talk about something quickly. I did a blog post a few months ago now, and thanks again to everyone who's been reading my blog. And you know, I've really seen a cool shift of my thought about my content, I guess. Being just like Radio Mike is the brand and the content is everywhere. You know, there's a blog, there's podcasts, there's YouTube content, there's my Instagram, there's my Twitter. That's kind of how I'm viewing it now, and it's really been creatively fulfilling. I did a blog a few months ago talking about how I hate my Apple Watch and I don't want to use it anymore. And it was because it just became a really intrusive and invasive part of my life, just hounding me with notifications. And recently in the Discord, again, jump in if you want, Patrio Whitey, who is an executive producer on Patreon, sent this message. I just read your last few articles, love the writing, Mike, but you're using your Apple Watch wrong. Mine has no notifications on except phone calls, and I use it to actively track workouts. I have a simple minimal face on it with an analog clock and the date and day of the week. I often go out without my phone. My watch can keep playing podcasts and also has my credit cards and can run iOS shortcuts to unlock my front door, making it and my AirPods literally all I need when I leave the house. And that's true. And so I've been saying on the pod for a while, again, with my obsession at the moment with productivity, I have tried to basically try and find uses for as much of my old stuff that is just sitting there doing nothing as possible. Here's some examples, okay? Then I'll get to the watch. So one thing I'm always like is, sometimes I would love to play PS5 in bed, right? Because I've obviously got my PS5 set up in my main room with my TV, and, you know, it's great there. But sometimes if I'm tired and I'm home alone, I'm just like, I just want to, play a bit of PlayStation in bed, continue this gaming session in bed, but couldn't figure out an efficient way to do it. Then I realized I still have a PS4. It's at my parents' house and it's just sitting there. And the PS4 can just flawlessly run remotely into a PS5. So you just set it up on the same Wi-Fi network, turn it on, and you can remote play your PS5. So I just went and got my PS4, set it all up in my bedroom, connected it to the bedroom TV. Now I can play PS5 in bed whenever I want, really easily, with not much hassle at all. So that was like a great example. Another example is like, I used to have this like little Bluetooth audio dongle for my car, and like I don't have a car anymore, but Claire does, and she uses like a physical lightning cable to connect her phone to the stereo to listen to music. But whenever I do it in her car, it just like always screws up. Okay, it might be the cords problem, but basically I was like, I'll just use that old audio Bluetooth dongle and put it in Claire's car. Problem solved. Great use of old stuff, great use of being productive, I guess. Anyway, so in terms of the Apple Watch, I want to take back my blog post, which is a huge thing to say, but I actually have started to like it again. I decided to start using it more because I guess I thought, well, I spent $800 on this thing. I might as well use it, right? And get some usage out of it. So I've been wearing it, and basically I've set it up so, it changes its watch face automatically depending on the time of day. It turns off notifications at certain times or if I'm in certain locations, which is pretty cool. And it turns off, like, certain features change at different points of the day based on where I am and what I'm doing, which is a cool thing you can do with iOS to, I guess, maximize productivity and figure out where you are and when notifications should come and when they shouldn't, and what watch face should be on. Like, for example, during the day, I have my like activity fitness watch face, but as soon as it hits 6 p.m., it swaps to like a more formal analog watch face. And then when it hits 8:30, it goes to another digital watch face that's a bit more subdued. And then once it hits 9:30, it just goes into cinema mode, which is where the watch just like the screen just dims and you don't see anything. Right? And now I wear it to sleep. I track my sleep. It's actually, I feel like I'm getting a lot of good use out of it. So I want to renege on my original blog post, but I might change my mind. So there you go. There's a bunch of stuff that's been happening in my life this week. But before we go, let's do this. The plug. I feel like I'm in a really good place content-wise, as I said, and I'm really happy, and I hope you're enjoying this pod and the structure it's going with recently. A few things that I want to plug, actually a fair few things this week. First off, I wanted to let you know that Harry Potter and the Boys, a lot of people have been asking, my other podcast, that will be back on August 6th. Tuesday, August 6th will be the first day back for Harry Potter and the Boys. You heard it here first. And I'll probably do a reveal of the new artwork. Our fantastic artist, Dave Ferrier, who some of you may know, he's a well-known cartoonist who has done every artwork for Harry Potter and the Boys. He sent me the final version for the new podcast artwork for book 4, and it looks amazing. So stay tuned for that. Should be a good time to start listening to that pod if you haven't. Friday on this feed is a Mike Talks. The first Mike Talks in a very long time, if you've been listening to the show for a while. I did a Mike Talks with Lewis Spears and Keelan, who most of you will know, but Lewis had a lot to say about his thoughts on content, his thoughts on AI, his recovery after some pretty extreme surgery. It was a really funny, chaotic, and fun chat. So that's the first Mike Talks up for a while. It'll be on this feed. Patreon's got early access to it, so they've already heard it. So keep in mind there is stuff like that as a benefit to being on the Patreon. I also did a few YouTube videos. One I put up on this feed, which you may have heard or listened to, but the most recent video I did was about the CrowdStrike outage, which many of you would have experienced or been a part of, where a lot of PCs around the world switched off. I did, in the interest of doing content that is a blend of pop culture and real world events, I talked about a movie from the year 2000 that predicted this exact thing happening. And that movie, this is going to blow your mind, was a little kids movie called Digimon the Movie. So if you want to, I might put the audio on this feed over the weekend. If you want to watch or listen to that, go and check it out on YouTube. It's going really well. It's performing well, so I'm really happy with that. And Sunday morning at 8 a.m, I will have a blog up. I think I'm going to write a little bit about CrowdStrike, a little bit more about that. So plenty to look forward to. I think that is pretty much it. Don't forget to watch the Movie Club, Palm Springs, for next week's Movie Club. It'll be out on the 31st of July. That's it from me, guys. Thank you so much for listening. My name has been Radio Mike. This has been The Inside of My Mind. I'll catch you next week.